Good evening. Welcome to Loveworld USA News. I'm TGK Andre. First, a quick look at the top stories this evening. President Trump pledges 100% chance of US-EU trade deal as Italy's Meloni visits White House. Florida State University shooting. Multiple victims hospitalized, suspect in custody. Supreme Court puts Trump administration's birthright citizenship ban on hold, sets May hearing. Manufacturers push Trump admin to slash 44 costly regulations across 10 federal agencies. Federal judge rules Google's ad business is an illegal monopoly, paving way for possible breakup. And now to the news. President Donald Trump on Thursday declared there is a 100% chance the United States will secure a trade deal with the European Union, as he welcomed Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni to the White House. The visit comes amid a temporary pause on new U.S. tariffs targeting EU goods, set to take effect in June unless trade agreements are reached. Trump assured reporters that negotiations were progressing and a deal was imminent, emphasizing it'll be a fair deal. Meloni, who has publicly opposed the broad EU tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, said her visit to Washington reflected confidence in the U.S. as a trading partner. She and Trump have maintained a strong rapport, with Meloni previously visiting Mar-a-Lago in January. Trump praised Meloni as a fantastic leader doing a great job for Italy, signaling continued diplomatic warmth between the two leaders. The White House noted that over 75 countries have expressed interest in striking trade deals with the U.S. following the administration's announcement of historic tariffs on April 2nd. The initial plans include 20% duties on EU imports, but on April 9th, Trump paused the full tariffs for 90 days and lowered them to 10% to allow space for negotiations. Meloni has warned that Italy is prepared to use all tools to protect its businesses if a deal is not reached. Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to meet with Meloni in Rome during his upcoming diplomatic tour of Italy and India. His office said the discussions will focus on shared economic and geopolitical priorities, underscoring the administration's broader effort to reinforce transatlantic ties while navigating trade tensions and policy alignment within the EU bloc. Watch this.
Oh, there'll be a trade deal, 100%. Oh, well, you think there won't be? Of course there'll be a trade deal, very much. They want to make one very, very much, and we're going to make a trade deal. I fully expect it, but it'll be a fair deal.
Are they on your priority list?
Everybody's on my priority list.
A shooting at Florida State University on Thursday has left at least 6 people hospitalized, with one in critical condition, as a suspect was taken into custody, according to officials and hospital representatives. The shooting triggered an emergency response that included local police, FBI agents, and university security forces. President Donald Trump has been briefed on the situation. The incident began around noon, prompting lockdowns across campus. Students and staff were instructed to shelter in place as law enforcement secured the area. Eyewitnesses described chaos, including students hiding in elevators in campus buildings, unsure whether the threat was ongoing. Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare confirmed 6 patients were brought in, though the nature and extent of their injuries remain unclear. Meanwhile, Governor Ron DeSantis expressed support on social media, assuring the public that law enforcement is actively managing the response. In the aftermath, FSU announced the cancellation of all home athletic events through Sunday. Students continued to share emotional firsthand accounts of the fear and confusion during the incident, highlighting the continued urgency around campus safety measures. Let's take a look.
First 911 calls started coming in around noon. An active shooter situation on the campus of Florida State University. Multiple injuries were reported. Officials confirming again 2 dead and 6 others are in the hospital there in Tallahassee. Authorities quickly took a suspect into custody. He has been identified as the 20-year-old son of a female Leon County Sheriff's deputy. The sheriff says that the suspect had access to at least one of his mother's weapons. We are hearing that it was a personal weapon that she had purchased from the department when she was issued another gun. Authorities also say that the suspect was heavily involved in civilian police training. Take a listen.
The alleged shooter was also a long-standing member of the Leon County Sheriff's Office Citizen Advisory or Youth Advisory Council. So he has been steeped in the Leon County Sheriff's Office family, engaged in a number of training programs that we have. So it's not a surprise to us that he had access to weapons. This event is tragic.
Campus police quickly placed FSU on lockdown, advising students to stay in place until authorities arrived. The school sent out a campus-wide alert, making students and faculty aware of what was going on. Many of them received these alerts on their phones or their electronic devices. Students reported that they were hiding, some say, in the Student Union building because the shooting took place near there. Also, some were reportedly hiding in whatever they could find, another building, an open space, a bowling alley that was there on campus. One student describes what she saw just minutes after shots rang out, and we're also hearing from a parent who rushed to FSU after his daughter told him what took place.
As I was walking back, I see these group of girls crying, really upset, walking back from the student union, told me they heard gunshots, and they just ran and came back to their apartment where I was walking to.
Our hearts and prayers and minds are to anyone who's possibly had a child or a relative who's been injured or possible loss of life.
The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday maintained a hold on President Donald Trump's executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. to undocumented immigrants. While lower courts had already blocked the policy, the High Court declined the administration's request to narrow those rulings and instead agreed to hear arguments on the matter in May. President Trump's order, signed shortly after returning to office in January, asserts that children of undocumented parents are not entitled to citizenship because they are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, a phrase used in the 14th Amendment. This interpretation directly challenges the long-standing understanding of birthright citizenship, which has been in place since shortly after the Civil War and has granted citizenship to nearly all born on U.S. soil. The administration has asked the justices to allow the policy to take effect nationwide, except for a handful of plaintiffs, or at least to lift the block in the 22 states that did not join the legal challenges. Critics argue that creating a patchwork of policies could cause widespread confusion and constitutional uncertainty, especially since children's citizenship status would vary based on where they were born. Although the Supreme Court's current review focuses on the scope of the injunctions issued by lower courts, it's likely that justices will weigh in on the core constitutional question. The Trump administration faces a growing number of legal challenges to its fast-paced policy changes, with over 150 lawsuits filed and dozens of injunctions already issued to stall various federal actions. Watch this.
A short time ago, the Supreme Court agreed to hear oral arguments in the case about ending birthright citizenship. How confident are you that the court will rule in your favor and allow that order to end birthright citizenship to go forward?
Well, you're just telling me that for the first time. I am so happy. I think the case has been so misunderstood. That case, birthright citizenship, is about slavery. If you look at the details of it, the signings of it, everything else, that case is all about slavery. And if you view it from that standpoint, people understand it. But for some reason, lawyers don't talk about it, the news doesn't talk about it. That's not about tourists coming in and touching a piece of sand and all of a sudden they're a citizenship. They're a citizen. That is all about slavery. And even look at the dates on which it was signed. It was right at that era, right after the Civil War. And if you look at it that way, the case is an easy case to win. And I hope the lawyers talk about birthright, citizenship, and slavery, because that's what it was all about. And it was a very positive, it was meant to be positive. And they use it now instead, not for slavery, they use it for people that come into our country and they walk in and all of a sudden they become citizens and they pay a lot of money to different cartels and others. It's all about slavery, and if you look at it that way, we should win that case.
The news will be back after this break.
This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, American history. It's our Declaration of Economic Independence. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. American steel workers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. We are finally putting America first. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. More production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices. From this day on, we're not going to let anyone tell us that American workers and families cannot have the future that they deserve. We're going to produce the cars and ships, chips, airplanes, minerals, and medicines that we need right here in America. We're going to build our future with American hands, with American heart. This will be indeed the golden age.
Welcome back. The National Association of Manufacturers, the largest manufacturing trade group in the United States, has submitted a sweeping set of policy recommendations to the Trump administration, urging revisions or rescissions of 44 federal regulations deemed harmful to the U.S. industry. The proposals, sent to 10 major agencies, including the EPA, DOE, and Treasury, follow President Trump's February executive order tasking the Department of Government Efficiency with identifying regulatory burdens on small businesses and innovation. The NAM called for regulatory rebalancing to reduce the estimated $350 billion manufacturers spend annually on compliance. NAM President Jay Timmons emphasized that outdated and overreaching rules trap projects in red tape and hinder investment, job creation, and competitiveness. When manufacturing wins, America wins, Timmons said, adding that regulatory relief is a central pillar of the association's broader economic strategy. Specific targets include reversing Biden-era rules on offshore drilling and liquefied natural gas exports, which NAM argues restrict access to critical energy resources and rely on flawed studies. The group also asked the EPA to revise environmental rules that increase costs without measurable benefits, stressing that economic growth and environmental protection need not be mutually exclusive. The recommendations align with Trump's broader deregulatory agenda as he seeks to cut bureaucratic red tape and encourage industrial growth. The White House has signaled early support, with Trump vowing to act swiftly on reforms that support America's 13 million manufacturing workers. The NAM says it is committed to collaborating with DOGE to ensure regulation keeps pace with innovation and American competitiveness. In a major blow to Google, a federal judge ruled Thursday that the tech giant operates an illegal monopoly in the digital advertising market. The decision marks the second time in less than a year that Google has been found guilty of anti-competitive practices following a previous ruling against its search engine dominance. U.S. District Judge Leonie Brinkema determined that Google abused its power by forcing website publishers to rely on its ad tools, thereby shutting out competition. Her ruling focused on the company's advertising technology network, a core part of Google's $1.8 trillion empire, and criticized its long-standing integration of services gained through acquisitions like DoubleClick and AdMeld. The decision sets the stage for a future penalty phase where the Justice Department could push for structural changes, including the possible breakup of Google's ad tech operations. Google strongly rejected the ruling and said it plans to appeal, defending its tools as simple, affordable, and effective for publishers. With this ruling, the Justice Department is now 2 for 2 in major antitrust battles against Google, raising pressure on the company as it simultaneously faces competition in emerging sectors like AI and a potential legal mandate to split up core parts of its business. Let's take a look.
Google has built a monopoly with its web advertising business. That is the ruling from a federal judge today. The landmark case could reshape the internet as we know it, as Google ads are used in websites across the globe. The antitrust case is the third against Google that finds it has created an illegal monopoly in its online search and the Google App Store. Google has not commented on this ruling just yet.
Mortgage rates jumped sharply this week, marking the biggest increase in nearly a year, according to new data from Freddie Mac. The average rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage rose to 6.83%, up from 6.62% just a week ago. This increase comes as financial markets react to President Donald Trump's latest round of tariffs, which have caused some instability in the bond market. Mortgage rates tend to follow the 10-year Treasury yield, And as those yields rise, so do borrowing costs for home buyers. Despite the higher rates, the housing market is still showing signs of strength. Even with rates rising, more people are applying for mortgages this spring compared to last year, said Freddie Mac's chief economist, Sam Cater. A year ago, the 30-year rate was over 7% and fewer people were shopping for homes. Rates for 15-year fixed mortgages also climbed this week, rising to 6.03% from 5.82%. If you're looking to buy a home, this means borrowing money is getting more expensive, but demand is still strong and many buyers are pushing forward before rates rise even more. The news continues after this break. Stay with us.
The countdown to the Lord's soon return has begun, and in this first quarter of the year of completeness, Loveworld USA has indeed been spreading and preaching the gospel of our Lord Jesus, preparing the hearts of billions around the world to expect the Lord.
Year, we will complete the full preaching of the gospel in all nations.
Loveworld USA broadcasted life-changing programs with our man of God. Global Communion Service, Your Loveworld Specials, Global Day of Prayer, Healing Streams. Loveworld News, where we emphasize truth and deception. Truth Watch USA, where Americans are exposed to the truth. Topics such as the failed agenda of so-called globalists, what's really happening to your food, President Trump, a sign to the church. Prayer programs where effective prayers were offered. Tremendous Power. Pray for America. Faith-filled programs like I'm Just Saying. Pastor Chris Worth reading. Stick to the Word. Programs with Pastor Benny and many more. We say thank you, dearest partners, for contributing towards our programming and daily operations through your partnership. Loveworld USA is positioned for a massive harvest of souls all around the world as we set our sail to reach more people in this second quarter, in more languages, and change more lives. This is a call to our dearest partners all over the world to join this mandate in completing the full preaching of the gospel to all nations as you sponsor our 2025 projects. 1. Pastor Chris in 1 Billion Homes Project. Ensure the spread of the message of the man of God through Loveworld USA. The spread of our ministry programs and agenda through satellite, cable, internet, digital, mobile apps, Alpha TV, OTT platforms, our news, and our current affairs. 2. Minutes to Reach Billions 4.0. Make your every minute count for the gospel as we spread the awareness of Loveworld USA to your world. 3. Translation of our language-specific channels. Make it possible for billions around the world to watch our programs in their native language. 4. Tag your name to a program. Sponsor and tag your name to our various Loveworld USA programs. You can adopt a specific program. 5. Studio upgrade. Join us today with your lavish gift to the work of Loveworld USA. Every SPs or dollar you give goes to accomplishing our mandate to fully preach the gospel with our life-transforming content. For more information, please call the number showing on your screen. God bless you.
Welcome back. A Berlin doctor has been formally charged with murdering 15 palliative care patients by secretly administering a lethal drug cocktail that caused respiratory arrest, prosecutors announced Wednesday. The accused, a 40-year-old unnamed male, allegedly injected anesthetics and muscle relaxants without the patient's consent while working for an end-of-life nursing service between September 2021 and July 2023. The victims, aged 25 to 94, mostly died at home. Investigators say the doctor also attempted to cover up the deaths by starting fires in some of the residences. Initially suspected in 4 deaths, the scope of the case widened significantly over the past year. The doctor has been in custody since August 6th and has yet to respond to the charges. Berlin prosecutors are seeking the maximum penalty of life imprisonment and a declaration of particularly severe guilt, which would bar his release after the standard 15-year minimum. They also intend to request a lifetime professional ban. The case now moves to the Berlin State Court, which will decide if and when to proceed to trial. Watch this.
German palliative care doctor is accused of killing 15 patients with lethal drugs and setting fire to hide evidence. Prosecutors say the death toll could rise, though the doctor denies the charges.
A notorious Russia-linked hacking group known as APT29 is behind a new phishing campaign aimed at European diplomats, using fake invitations to wine tasting events to deploy malicious software, according to cybersecurity firm Check Point Research. The campaign reportedly began in January 2025 and involves emails disguised as official communications from a major European Ministry of Foreign Affairs. APT29, also known as Cozy Bear or Midnight Blizzard, is widely believed to be part of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service. The group has previously targeted high-level organizations, including government agencies and think tanks. In this latest campaign, the hackers are attempting to lure recipients into clicking links that install a new malware tool dubbed Grape Loader. The emails, marked with subject lines like wine tasting event, diplomatic dinner, and 4 ambassadors calendar, were sent to diplomatic entities across Europe, as well as some embassies from non-European countries. In some cases, additional email waves followed initial failures in an effort to increase the chances of a successful breach. Checkpoint said the malicious links are hosted on servers designed to evade detection by security software and only activate the malware under specific conditions such as time or geographic location. If accessed outside of those parameters, the links redirect users to legitimate ministry websites, adding an extra layer of deception. It remains unclear whether any of the attacks have succeeded. Just before we end the news, let's take a quick look at tomorrow's weather forecast. And to end the news today, a quick recap of the headlines. President Trump pledges 100% chance of US-EU trade deal as Italy's Meloni visit to White House. Florida State University shooting, multiple victims hospitalized, suspect in custody. Supreme Court puts Trump administration's birthright citizenship ban on hold, sets May hearing. Manufacturers push Trump admin to slash 44 costly regulations across 10 federal agencies. Federal judge rules Google's ad business is an illegal monopoly, paving way for possible breakup. And that's the news for today. Join us at the same time tomorrow for more news. I'm TGK Andre. Good night and God bless you.